Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to discuss about domain creation part. In WebLogic, when we create a domain, we need to plan certain things. So let's understand some questions about domain planning. So first of all, we need to understand how many domains we are going to create on server. Then on each domain, how many instances or many servers we are going to create. Also, we need to understand where our admin server is going to host. If we have a highly available application, so what kind of clustering we are going to create? And in clustering, how many managed servers are there? Are they horizontal clustering or it's part of vertical clustering or hybrid clustering we are going to create? Is the application connecting to the database or any other third-party services or our application use CMS or application contain EJB. So we need to understand the application nature as well. So we need to discuss with the application owner all these requirements and creating domain. So we need to define our topologies, right? So how many computers are there? If we have a horizontal clustering, so we need more than two computer or two servers where we will install WebLogic and then create the domain. On one cluster, how many instances we are going to have and what would be the IPs or host name that we will allocate to particular instance or managed server and the port number which we are going to have and how many clusters we are going to create. So all these questions basically can come up and discuss. So this should have a proper planning. Also, when we create a domain, it will ask what domain mode you want to go with. So we have two kind of domain mode. One is the development and another is a production mode. The development mode is having some certain uh, features like it allow application to be auto deployed. Also, it is okay to use demonstration digital certificate for SSL and it will not prompt for a username and password when we start or stop the admin server. Admin console auto lock the configuration by default. Often, no managed server are defined in the domain. Okay, if we want managed servers, we can create a managed server, or also we can deploy application on admin server itself. Admin server, when we create a domain, admin server is created, and that admin server also can work as a managed server. The another mode is a production mode. That production mode basically for the live environments where in production application is running. So we need to consider certain securities challenges. So we can go with a production mode for the live environment. So live environment auto deployed is disabled. Yeah. And you should not use the demo certificate for SSL, though this is recommended when we create a domain, then the demo certificate by default is created, but we can change or we can update the certificate which is accepted by our organization or well CA certificate. Okay, so that we can plan accordingly our requirements. If we are using SSL ports, then the SSL configuration we can do for a particular managed server or particular admin server itself. We are starting admin server, so it will be prompted for the username and password. So in development mode, it will not prompt, but production mode, it will be prompted. So you need to pass the user ID and password when we are starting the admin server. Though it can be defined in boot.properties later, and it will load the credential from the boot.properties. And also, admin console does not allow auto locking of the configuration. So considering all these, features of production or development, so we can go with the domain mode. But if this is for live environment or production, so always should go with the production mode, or if it's just for the testing or development environment we are creating, then we can go with the development mode. Okay, so there are domain creation tools as well, which we will use for creation a domain. So one is configuration wizard. So that configuration wizard is provided in by Oracle and WebLogic, and that is the graphical domain creation tool. It will provide you GUI interface. Another tool is WebLogic scripting tool (WLST) that can create domains interactively or by running a WLST script. Other ways pack and unpack utilities also, and these are used to copy an existing domain to another machine. So suppose we are creating a horizontal clustering, and we have installed WebLogic on one server, and we have created domain, and that is a master domain, or that has a admin server as well. So there we can configure domain properly, okay, and then we can pack using the pack utility the domain and unpack on the other domains or other servers which are going to be part of a same domain. So in that case, we can use the pack and unpack utilities also. And also domains are created from the templates. Okay, so we can use the default template provided by WebLogic. Okay, or else we can use our custom template. We can build our custom template. We have a template builder graphical tool as well, and that is configbuilder.ss. It is inside the common bin. That tool we can use to customize our template, and using that template also we can create a domain. Otherwise, most of the time we can use a default template, uh, and the default template is sufficient for creating a domain. Okay, so now let's go with creating a domain with the configuration wizard. So let me go to the servers, and let me open the configuration wizard. All the command or utilities are there in common bin directory. And for creating a domain, we will use a config wizard. Mm, yes, this one. Mm. Let me try to launch the config wizard directly from CMD. Okay, this is fine. Let's just wait. Okay, so configuration wizard is called launch. Here we can see all the options and websites which are needed for creating domain. And when we are first page, we will see what do you want to do. You want to create a domain, or you want to update an existing domain. This tool basically used for creating a new domain and also updating an existing domain. So in our case, we want to create a new domain. We'll choose the create a new domain and domain location. We can provide the domain location here. If you want to create a domain outside of middleware home, we can change the domain location, or by default it will use in the user project domains and base domain. So let's use the same path and click next. In next page we will see the templates. We want to create a domain using the product template, like the default templates like basic WebLogic server domain, that template we will use, or we want to create a domain using a custom template if we have already created a template. So this can be choose when we already have our own custom template. Okay, so now I'm going to go with the default template, and that is basic WebLogic server domain template. Let's click next. And here the administrator account mentioned, so we need to provide the username. What the username we are going to have. So this planning should be done before. And since this is a demo or testing purpose, so I'm going to use the default username and the password I will use when default password as well. Okay. And now we'll see a domain mode. As I mentioned, we also need to properly understand the domain mode. Okay. So here we can see two kind of domain mode, development mode and production mode. Okay. If you are just creating a domain for development purpose, so we can go with the development mode. If you are going to create a domain for real kind of scenarios, environment, or production environment where our application is live. So for all the live kind of environment, we can go with a production mode. And also you see the JDK, which a domain going to use. So if we already have the domain, okay, when we install the WebLogic, we set the domain path. So it is referring that one. Or you want to use any different JDK location, so we can choose here. But since we already have a desired JDK, and this time we will use the same JDK as well. And now we'll see the advanced configuration. In advanced configuration, if you want to configure your administration server, your node manager now, so we can choose them. Or if you want to configure your node manager or admin server later, we can skip this phase, right? Otherwise, by default, the administration configuration or port or host will be configured and set. And if you want to change now, so we can choose them and let's update them. The administration server, we can see like what is the server name you want to have for the admin server. So we can use the default name and the listen address. Okay, here you can provide your server IP or the host name and the listen port, which port you want. Whether you want the default port or any custom port you want. Or also you want to enable SSL, so we need to provide a SSL port. As of now, I'm not going to use SSL. I'm going to have a same default configuration and let's click on next. Now we'll see on the node manager page. So here we will have node manager configuration detail. So per domain, per default location. So if you want to change the domain or node manager location, you can change. But by default, it is per domain default location. So it will be inside the domain only. And also we need to provide the node manager credential. So here also I'm using the same credential which I use for the with admin server. I'll keep remember them. Okay. Now we can see the configuration summary page. Here we will see our base domain name and base domain path and the admin server details. Okay. So if everything is fine, we can click on the create domain. Let's click on the create domain and we'll see the progress here. So domain creation is started now. Let's wait for the domain creation is completed and we can monitor the progress here as well. Right now it's 9% is completed and it's completed within couple of seconds as well. Okay, so let's create next. So now we can see our configuration, domain creation is completed. Oracle WebLogic Server domain configuration succeeded. And click finish. Okay, so our domain is been created now. Let's go and check whether domain is created. I'm in Windows Server CMD. Let's go to the path of our Oracle home and the domain home. So our Oracle home is G WLS demo and then WLS. Okay. Here we can see user projects and the domains. Let's go inside the domains and let's see the domain which we have created. Yes, here we can see the domain which was created, that is the base domain. So let's go inside the domain and we will see the domain configuration file here. Okay, and let's go to the bin directory, and inside the bin directory we will have all the utilities which are needed to manage the admin server or the managed server. Okay, these utilities are basically start, stop, manage server, start, stop, WebLogic admin server, or start, stop the node manager, and set the startup environment or set the domain environment. So these all utilities are there inside the configuration, and these are limited to the domain itself. Okay. If you want to start the WebLogic server, we can click and run the start WebLogic.cmd. So start WebLogic.cmd is a command for starting a WebLogic. Now we can see the WebLogic server is going to start and it is in initializing phase. And you'll see here it is prompting for the username and password. Enter username to boost WebLogic server. Okay. Since we have created a domain in a production mode, so it's prompting for the credential. Let's provide the username which we used while creating the domain and the password. Okay, here we can see our admin server started, and once this state is changed to the running, admin is successfully started. As of now, it is in standby and starting state. This will be changed to the running. Yeah, here we can see the server state is changed and it is now showing running. It means our WebLogic admin server started, and we can go and check our admin server is opening or not. So this is the URL we should use, HTTP 34, and the host name. Let me use the local host and the port which we use. Let's console. If my admin server is mapped to the local host, so it will be started. I mean, you will be able to access it. If the admin server is not mapped to the local host, then we can use the IP, which is basically mapped. I can see this IP. Let me try to use this IP again. I can fix timeout. I should not use the HTTP. Yes, it should be HTTP. Also, let me try with using the IP 7001 and so Okay. Using the IP address, I can access the WebLogic console and we can log in into the WebLogic console using the credential we set while creating the domain. Yeah. So here you can see we have logged into the console and we can see the graphical view of the console here. You can see how we can create the domain in a graphical mode.